Hi there. Welcome to Buffalo, home for me, and also, sadly, in this case, not New Orleans. We'll hit on the Super Bowl briefly today, but of course, we've reached the early best ball season, tournaments and trends to talk about, rookies to talk about off the Senior Bowl, and I've cooked up a little thing I'm trying here about some of the most prolific veteran receivers in the league. Last year, we didn't know, well, maybe we thought we did, what to do with the veteran running backs who had changed teams and what that meant to fantasy football. This year, not as much movement likely with those guys who mostly did well, but the old receivers could offer value or a trap. We'll get into it. Let's fire it up with our heroes, Pat Corain and Davis Maddock. I'm your host, Mike Shope. This is ADP Chasing, February 4th, 2025.
ADP chasing is for when you watch ship chasing, you go, these guys are just football guys.
And the targets per outrun leagues, that's going to be really nice.
Actually, back in if it's Ashane.
Stare into our crystal ball. Close your eyes, all your entries are going to lose anyway.
Yeah, that's fair.
This is a Deuce Vaughn show.
It's anti-cabal. It's anti the best ball thought leaders. I'm obviously lying to some degree because, I have a lot of both of these guys.
It's the most disgusting pick you can make. But, man.
Well, not like it's my fault, but sorry to not be able to offer you both and our loyal listeners and viewers a Radio Row, vibe here. I've done 5 of those, and I think they're mostly still the same. It's pretty gross. You have 3 classes of, potential guests, celebrities at Radio Row. You've got the cool, mid-famous football celebrities, mostly media, some retired legends. Like, I go back 20, 25 years. Like, we had no trouble getting Joe Montana every year to go on Buffalo radio. You have Ross Tucker, the late John Clayton for this, Trey Wingo. Sure, I'll come over. And you have,
in a sense, I would say there is a radio vibe going on here because I can barely make you out. Your really? Video is
your
camera's
you're just, if you just tap your camera, it's focused on your microphone, not on you. It happens to me. It happens to my microphone.
Davis has new lights going on. His camera is so high def. I feel like I can see him move before he even activates his muscles.
All right.
I clearly just got up. There's 2 radio guys and a professional streamer on this.
Am I better or no?
No. Try moving your microphone to out of frame. Because it's just focusing on your. It's just. I don't know. We need to hire Pete's. We need to hire.
I don't know what the solution was,
guy.
But it wasn't that.
He probably unplugged his Logitech camera, which we're all in there. Yeah, man. We are.
How do I sound? By the way, this is a new mic.
You sound good. I need to do what you have, so I need to get. I have one. I need to get the arm, but I'm just continuing my road of trying to be like Peter, in which I just continually try and slowly upgrade. I'm not quite there yet. I can do. This is cool though. I can change the the colors. This costs $9 off of Amazon. So it's actually not that hard. It's just mostly an effort thing. Yeah. What inspired me though? I was doing some scouting on my fellow YouTube competitors, and I was just watching some Liam videos. I was watching some of Spag's videos. I was watching some of Peter's old videos, and I happened to click on an old Chess Liam video where he was just in his computer room, and he just had 2 little rinky dink lights. Right, I was just because I knew. I've been where Liam's been many times, where it's I can make this better. I can improve this, but I'm gonna do it in the most half-assed way possible. I'm just gonna do it in the ass, maybe even quarter ass. Quarter ass. I'm about 75% ass. Here.
Yeah, this is more than half an ass. This is definitely more than half an ass.
It's more than half an ass, but to whole ass it. What I'm going to have to do is I'm going to have to turn my entire desk around, and I'm going to have to get a 3rd bookshelf so that I can be further away. Because the reason why Pete's looks so good is that Peter's lights are about 20
behind.
Feet,
yeah,
they're about 20 feet behind him.
Yeah,
these lights are about. They're about 18 inches behind me.
Right.
So there's no ability to create any depth. There we go. You're better. You're better now. You are clear
Test.
Yeah.
We stripped it all down. Sorry about that.
You got a nickname, Shope. Freeze Frame Crane. Choppy Shopey. I don't know which one gets the O changed.
It's all good.
You have to mess the pronunciation up.
Choppy
all
Shopey.
Right. Well, anyway, any questions about Radio Row? Probably not.
I mean, I've just never understood this. A lot of people go to the Super Bowl, right? Peter has been to the Super Bowl 3 times, I believe. My old company used to send everyone. Used to basically send the whole company. We were in New Jersey and New York. They would basically send everyone there, but no one went to the game.
Right.
No. So you go to Radio Row, and then you don't get to go to the game, which to me, they asked me if I wanted to go, and I'm like, absolutely not. Do I want to go sit in a hotel room, get sweaty on Radio Row for a week, basically just like beg a linebacker of the 1987 New England Patriots to give me a little bit of their attention and then go home? Absolutely not. No, and many people, in fact, flew the day of the Super Bowl. I mean, just no thank you.
Wow.
No thank you.
We never stayed. We would go Sunday and leave Saturday morning. So I never went to a game, but we went 5 years. They were great times. It's really about after the show or before, like going to play Sawgrass or the 17th, like that Island Green when the Super Bowl was in Jacksonville, or just different parties and dinners. Like that's the cool part. But it is like Bulldog. Pat loves the Bulldog, my WGR co-host. I'll never forget the time.
Big Bulldog guy.
So you are a big Bulldog guy. Some guys are like sort of right in your wheelhouse. We're mid-market, and some guys are just above you, right? You'd better be New York or Boston or Chicago to get their attention. So we were probably feeling pretty good. We were like 20 or 30 feet away from Warren Sapp. And he's surrounded by, like, Warren Sapp needs a team, but he's surrounded by guys that look just like Warren Sapp. And Bulldog's like, let me take a shot. Bulldog's like 6'5", 270, something like that. He fits right in. He got like 2 strides toward Warren Sapp, and everybody turned and like back off, right? Because you're not, whoever you are, you're not getting near Warren Sapp. Like, so a lot of it's like really pathetic and, whatever. You feel really small, but it's cool in a way. I wish I were there.
Yeah, it seems like a good time. Shout out to my old company, Rotoworld. Used to send the team to the Super Bowl. By the team, I mean
there right now.
Matthew Berry, Lawrence Jackson, Rotopat, and Denny Carter. Not me. I never got to go.
Did they ever ask you to go?
No. There was a limited seats, I think.
Is Kyle there? Did Kyle get
I don't
to
think
go?
Kyle's been tapped either. But I believe Pat and Denny are there again.
Well, they had good guests. Like I remember them talking to Tony Pollard, and that's like kind of the guy you can get. But there are bigger stars there that you can't.
Well, they send like the production team and everything, so they like go out. I remember, God, who was it? A couple years ago they were doing interviews, and someone was doing some NFT project. That the players got to come on and talk.
Right.
NFT project. So some of the players, are kind of have incentives to get on and
I
chill,
know.
You might say.
Are you guys old enough to remember Donovan McNabb and his mom pitching Chunky Soup?
Yes.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
McNabb was one of the biggest stars in the league, but we would always get him if you got his mom with him. Like you had them both, and you mostly talked about Chunky Soup, but that was the deal. Brian Urlacher, he signed. It was Chad Ochocinco who signed deodorant, a stick of deodorant for the station because that was what he was pitching, and you're not getting Ochocinco unless you're talking about.
But is he getting paid by the stick? Like what is
he's paid
deal?
By the stick? He's paid by the stick. Yeah.
That seems like a bad deal. I don't have to.
It's a pretty good rate per stick, I imagine.
Yeah, it must be.
Price per stick, PPS. Well, moving on. I've got a little thing cooked up for you later, but Davis, what do we need to know about the rookies, the Senior Bowl, the Shrine Game? Like, what's changed since we talked last? Anything?
I mean, I think the 2 biggest things that you'll have to adjust for is Ollie Gordon is now like a 13th round pick after the first 3 days of the contest being a guy you could get 19th
Why
round.
Is that?
ETR has him super high in his
Okay.
default ranks, which is one of the reasons. And then the other reason is he was like one of the guys that, so he weighed 233 at the Senior Bowl, which is, it's, you look at the way the guy moves, it's pretty good to be 233. And he also just like in the, the interviews and everything, like the Senior Bowl is not set up for running backs to do well. Like running back drill, the game is not going to revolve around them. They're not really going to have any big meaningful plays, but he was just one of the guys that got really strong reviews. And then Jack Bech.
I hadn't heard that. He whiffed on a bunch of pass protection stuff for what I saw. I don't know. The Ollie Gordon hype has caught me off guard, and he's tricky because he was such a big prospect. Like I went back and looked at this college football best ball draft I did with Froton, and he was the second pick. Yeah. And so,
if only we had some frame of reference for an Oklahoma State running back who absolutely smashed as a sophomore, then was markedly worse as a junior, got underdrafted in the NFL draft, then got paid $32 million guaranteed. Just if there was
how
some
did he
kind
do
of
as a
analog,
rookie though, Davis? Is that in these?
I literally do. I actually don't. I don't remember. I like actually don't remember Chuba.
He had 612 yards, better than I would have thought, but it wasn't.
Since you're bringing up Chuba Hubbard, isn't he a buy right now in Dynasty or no?
No, I think he's like if you could get the 203 for him right now, I'd sell that so fast.
Well,
I would trade the 203 for Chuba. He's locked in. He's somewhat protected by the Brooks draft capital. They're less incentivized to draft a running back in a deep class.
Yeah, so this is my current operational theory. Every running back you think is safe in this class is the least safe they've ever been. I think, Corain, we could see up to 12 running backs go before the end of round 3, maybe more. I think everything I'm hearing,
running backs.
I think everything we're hearing, all the Bruglers, all the Field Yateses, all the Lance Zerlines, all the people who are plugged in, we are getting breathless quotes about this running back class. Like LaQuint Allen, who, depending on your point of view, like is like a 4th round pick, 6th round pick, something like that. Like even this guy is getting,
I think.
And now we're getting LaQuint Allen hype. We're getting hype about everyone. We have I don't remember if it was Brugler or Yates who said he's hearing Travion Henderson is going to be a 1st round pick. I'm like, okay, if Travion Henderson is a 1st round pick, then what's going to happen with the guy who was better than him last year? What was going to happen with the guy who got the ball more times than him last year?
I think it's going to go the other way. I think someone that we don't expect to fall to round 3 will. Like, sure. I would not be surprised if Quinshon Judkins or, one of these other guys like Cam Skattebo, who are excited about.
Skattebo is going to be a faller, I think. I think people are a little over their skis on Mr. Skattebo.
Yeah, I mean, like Devin Neal, I think he's still, like, if you look at mock draft database.
Don't put it in the universe.
He's still above 100. Now, I think some of their stuff I think it's a bad time because I was looking like what mocks are feeding this, and it's kind of some old stuff.
Just pulls in everything. Mock draft database just pulls in literally everything.
Yeah. Grinding the mocks. Can we expand what's public, please? That would be helpful. But if you look at Devin Neal, he's still at 106. I think if you were like taking the temperature, he's probably at around 80 now. But that's still 3rd round, not 2nd. I would say like Genty, Hampton, and then 2 of Caleb Johnson, Henderson, and Judkins are all going to go round 2 or earlier.
Top 50.
Maybe top 50. But I would say that to me, it's like 4 guys, maybe 5, and then like 6 would be froth. How many did you say would go round 2?
Day 2.
You said 12 by end of day 2.
12. Okay, that I think is like on the high end of what's possible. But I think
about the massive earthquake that means for fantasy football if that does happen. If 12 guys go, I mean that is a third of the league where our projections or our base assumptions we're making right now are useless.
Yeah. Although I mean, so this class is definitely deep, but it's deep in a way that's there's lots of guys who are interesting in it. I don't think it's deep in terms of like day one starters, job takers. Maybe it is. Maybe it's. I shouldn't say it's not deep. It is, but it's not like 12 deep in that. It's
so job takers is like subjective because there's like no such thing, but well, other than like Genty, like if Genty goes somewhere, then sure. But like, okay, imagine the Panthers last year, they get this, or 2 years ago, they get this great production out of Chuba Hubbard very unexpectedly, and then they spend the second round pick on Jonathan Brooks. Well, Jonathan Brooks is not going to play this year. What do we know about this Panthers regime? They probably view figuring out the running back situation as pretty important. They just got the production out of Hubbard and then took Brooks. What would stop them from taking Quinshon Judkins in the third round? You and I might say that's a bad use of resources. You should do something else. And then they'd say, no, that's actually a good use of resources because we need a running back.
But they shouldn't. We have this conversation every week. I mean,
But Davis
might,
is right.
They shouldn't.
They do. The teams do that, and it's frustrating. It's very frustrating. But I mean, like Lance Zierlein yesterday put out a mock draft that had at 7 the Jets taking Ashton Genty, and he's like, Breece Hall's never gotten to 1,000 yards. Like,
and
either
in our brain,
or recovering from an ACL.
Hence
so
the thumbnail. Hence the thumbnail.
But in our brain, we go, well, that couldn't be dumber. You know who thinks about things like Breece Hall has never had 1,000 yards? Guys who draft in the NFL draft, guys who have been around football. You think Lance Zierlein is the only person who's had that thought that Breece Hall has never had 1,000 yards? I guarantee you there are football guys who are like, Breece Hall, dude, he's soft.
No, but it's going the right way. It's going the right way. We have to remember what we think is right. These teams they're talking about, the Panthers and the Jets, are terrible always.
No, I think these teams have been shaken to their core.
And be like, this is bad.
Okay, but think about the recency bias and the way the winds are blowing. You have Saquon Barkley like literally carrying a team to a Super Bowl.
Henry.
You have Jahmyr Gibbs looking like an absolute smash. So the Lions were panned for that pick. So I think it's a different thing to look at like maybe the best offensive tackle in the class potentially available at 7 and go no running back while you already have a guy you spent a second round pick on. That is crazy.
I know
it's a different thing than finding an undervalued guy in free agency where there's not that many good players available in free agency. So just spend the money on the undervalued running back. Like I think that part of it, the free agency class made a point this year, but
they did.
Rookies.
And now this free agents class is dust. It's Aaron Jones and it's Najee Harris.
The Eagles and the Ravens.
Don't forget about Rico Dowdle.
We all know this. They were already great. So sure, you add these running backs who are going to be great, and their teams are still great. So one of these days.
It's not how NFL teams decide things, though. NFL teams love running backs.
They also love good players. If you're like, this guy's the best player available, I'm sorry, but he's the best player at our pick. We're going to take good football. The way I'm going to build my team is I'm going to draft good football players. So
I'm taking highest on the board, best player available.
Yeah.
It's a little bit less like that every year is all I'm saying. And by the way, if 4 or 5 guys go in the top 50 in 2020, 5 running backs, I think it was 5, might've been 4, went in the top 55. Just none of them went until CEH at pick 32. But then you got Swift and Taylor, and eventually Dobbins was the last one of that group.
I was going to say that's actually a good comp. The 2020 running back class is a good comp, but it would be like if there were also a bunch of dudes who were draftable in the 3rd round. That I like if you think about, so like Keyshawn Vaughn, but imagine if Keyshawn Vaughn was good. AJ Dillon, but if AJ Dillon was good. Darrington Evans, but if Darrington Evans was good.
Right.
Things.
Although one of the things I think about this class is that there's a lot of, and imagine if this guy was good type of analysis going on where like, as a prospect, I would say DeAndre Swift just as good as any of the non-Genty guys in this class as a prospect, right? Very explosive.
He's soft, passes. Though. He's soft.
But we were very excited about Swift. J.K. Dobbins on par with every non-Genty guy in this class. Cam Akers on par with every non-Genty guy in this class. 52nd pick, went ahead of Dobbins. Dylan, another guy, right there with all the non-Genty guys.
Akers was the other one, right?
Akers, Clyde Edwards-Helaire, who was drafted 32nd overall to the Chiefs. We would probably be taking ahead of every non-Genty guy in this class in drafts if we erased our brains. Jonathan Taylor, we would definitely take over every non-Genty guy. Now, he's hit. Now, but there's, Dobbins was a very talented player, got hurt. Akers had a really strong end to his rookie season, tears his Achilles. So, there's some stuff going on. Zach Moss was one of the third-round guys. He, bounced around, never really had success early in his career, eventually had a little run there. Keyshawn Vaughn, he was going, because of the opportunity ahead of him, he ended up going like very high in rookie drafts. I was in a rookie draft where he went like 105, 106 in a super flex. So there was some excitement about him. This class has a lot of guys that I think are really good second round rookie picks and great third round dart throw types. It does not have that many like locked in, definitely going to hit players other than Genty, in my opinion. And then there's like Hampton, Judkins, Henderson, Caleb Johnson. I think Scattaboo, as long as the draft capital is good, I expect at least like 3 of those guys to be pretty damn impactful, but they're not like such good prospects where you wouldn't be shocked if like Caleb Johnson was a little bit of a plotter in the NFL level, or Judkins didn't really like have that much juice.
The one I think has the greatest ability to disappoint is Henderson, where he never got over.
Yeah.
He never got over.
Yeah,
he's basically Nyheim Hines, more or less.
He's big Nyheim Hines.
Yeah,
yeah. I mean, these guys all have. So when you think about how many guys, and I did a little exercise on this, how many guys are actually going to succeed to where they take roles. I was like, Genty will. Like, I'm just counting Genty at 100%. He's less than 100, but not like a ton less. And then like probably 3 of those 5 guys, the Hampton, Johnson, Judkins, Henderson, Scatabo, probably just like 1 of the guys in like kind of the round tier guy. And I would say it's probably Devin Neal. And you could maybe revise that up to include Neal. So let's do that. So we'll say 2 of those guys, and then like probably like 1 of the Brashard Smith type guys, and then like a couple random dudes who we just don't expect from.
I was gonna say then someone who goes undrafted or round 7 will just like randomly get good injury luck and end up playing.
But as a rookie, it's probably just like 1, and then like probably 1 or 2 of the free agents. So there's like 9 to 10, if we're going to be, let's be optimistic and say there's like 10, including the free agent class, which sucks, as you pointed out. There's probably 10 running backs capable of taking jobs by the end of the year. There's 19 jobs that look shaky. So I think in some ways, maybe like, we shouldn't be that afraid. Like basically half of the running backs who look shaky will probably have roles, the veterans.
Yeah.
And I'm talking about, like backfields, like the Bengals, like the Browns, like the Texans, like the Jaguars. I'm not a Joe Mixon fan. I'm including the Texans maybe a little bit.
Raiders.
Yeah, like, well, some backfields are like they just don't have anybody, so you'd think the Raiders, the Vikings, the Browns would probably bring in, the Cowboys would probably bring in someone somehow, but there's roles where we're like, I don't know, like the Giants.
But then equally, there are guys who are being counted on right now. Like Crane, I agree with your point. Like guys we think are shaky are just going to actually like be nutted out, and
some of them are going to hit the nuts. Yeah.
But then also there's going to be guys, and I don't know who it is, but like someone like Kyron or Kenneth Walker or James Conner or Josh Jacobs or Brian Robinson Jr., someone who the market is saying, oh, this guy's just running. They're just running it back. They're not going to run it back. There's going to be a huge change in their role one way. You got to get this. You have to remove his. I like historical anomalies as much as you, but you got to.
Yeah, I know.
Oh, I'm sorry. I just left that up there.
Doesn't even rhyme.
That doesn't even rhyme.
All right, Shope, let's play this game.
Let's go. All right. This is my hopefully not feeble attempt at entertaining everybody with a little bit of a, Super Bowl, right? Super Bowl is about the history of the game. It's also, we're going to get some ADP analysis here. And like I mentioned at the open, last year we had old running backs who ruined our lives, worked out. And I wonder what'll happen here with receivers. So you're both on your honor. We've got the names of the top 25 receivers by yards in NFL history among active players. The names on the right, I decided to leave out. Maybe Tyler Lockett is somebody we'll draft a little of or not.
I did just take him in a draft yesterday. I didn't feel good about it, but I did.
Is anyone else on that list? Julio Jones, who's number one, and still, this is by Pro Football Reference, still considered an active player. Brandon Cooks, Tyler Lockett, Jimmy Graham, Robert Woods, Odell Beckham Jr.
It is disrespectful to
Marvin
Robert
Jones,
Woods, who was just playing like a month ago.
Yeah, I know. Like so was Beckham, right? I mean, these guys are in. So is Robinson. Yeah. These guys are in the league, but I think we're mostly done with most, if not all of them. Yes, so I left them out. And part of the fun, I think, will be trying to identify. I'm sure you guys will do well. You guys do well, but who these other players on the left are. So, let's take turns. Davis, you're on the top of the screen here. Who's somebody that you know or you think you know is on this list? And then we'll talk about what they are.
Mike Evans will be somewhere on this list just because he's been in the NFL for 9 years and had a bunch of 1,000-yard seasons.
Mike Evans, 32. Last year's underdog ADP, I got these from Hayden on his Twitter last year, 27.1. He's still under contract with Tampa. How afraid are we going to be, if that's the right word? Maybe it isn't, to draft Evans.
I'm not afraid, I don't think.
I've been drafting Evans. Evans is not a player that I was excited to draft last year. He came off like the huge game. No, that was just 2 years ago. But his ADP was like pretty frothy last year, I guess because of the Godwin injury. But dude, I mean, he's still a Godwin
early third.
Yeah. So I'm kind of in because Godwin is a free agent. They lose Liam Cohen, but like at a certain point, isn't Baker like a sort of like kind of in enough of a groove with this team and these guys? So, I mean, they've got a great offensive line.
I think they're just going to run back the same personnel. Honestly,
didn't it work?
Yeah,
didn't it work?
Yeah. So
McMillan.
I think Evans in the late third now feels fine.
Yeah.
All right.
I agree.
So we're relatively bullish on him. We'll call it that.
Yeah.
Who's next? Pat, you're next.
Keenan Allen will be on here.
Oh yeah, Keenan will be on that list. Maybe number 2, right? Oh, guess he's been hurt a lot.
Keenan Allen, 33, underdog ADP last year, end of round 5, free agent. What kind of market will there be for Keenan Allen? Maybe pretty good.
I think could be pretty good because there's like a lot of teams that could use receiving help, and there's not that many good receivers in free agency, or like some of them have injuries that they're dealing with. They're coming off pretty serious injuries. So
only a good team signs him,
I guess.
Yes.
I mean, if you're the Patriots though, like, wouldn't you see if he's down? Like there's teams that, I mean, the Patriots are kind of the most obvious one where it's like they kind of desperately need more guys, but like they're probably gonna have trouble getting those guys to come to Boston. You're not winning any. Like the roster is kind of in shambles. So I don't know. I mean, if you're him, you'd rather go to like Washington or a contender. But I don't know. I mean, some of these, a young quarterback, a team with a young quarterback might be interested as well.
Okay, Davis.
DeAndre Hopkins, Kansas City Chief. DeAndre Hopkins.
Second,
nice.
Julio Jones, all-time yardage. You guys straightened me out on how little usage he was getting in the postseason. So I lost on a couple of overs after it was too late this year, but very small production. How does he compare with Keenan Allen as a free agent?
See, I think he's way closer to being done because he signed with a team that really could have used him. And they were like, you know who has more in the tank than you? Juju Smith-Schuster has more in the tank than you do right now. And like, where's he going to go that's better than the Kansas City Chiefs? Where would he sign? You're like, well, that's definitely better than being in Kansas City.
No, I think Hopkins is done.
Yeah.
All right.
He'll probably play one more season, but not very much.
Yeah.
Do you have any ADP on him or on these guys as we're talking about them?
Yeah, he's like the wide receiver 65, so he's going to be like 175-ish overall, I think.
Yeah. ADP 182.
15, 16.
We're like a round behind that.
All right. Pat, who's next?
Tyreek Hill.
Tyreek Hill. Tough one or no?
I think he started as one of the best values on the board.
Yeah, I think that feels untough. I think he is just going to be awesome.
Where's he going?
He was going in the 40s. And now he's up to 25 and a half.
All right.
It's kind of crazy how low he started.
Yeah.
And you think he stays in Miami?
I do.
I think he either stays in Miami or goes back to Kansas City, and either is really good.
Wonder if Keenan Allen could go back to LA.
That's what he said. Keenan Allen said, I'm only playing in Chicago or LA, but he included the Rams in that, right? So he said, I'm only playing in Los Angeles or in Chicago. Are tight ends on this list, or is it just wide receivers?
Yes.
Okay,
that's bad, by the way, for Allen. Because that's retirement risk potential then, if those teams don't want him.
He's not going to retire. He would certainly come back to Chicago, I think, over retiring.
Okay.
Travis Kelce.
That's just my opinion.
Travis Kelce is tight end what so far?
Tight end 8. He goes right next to Mark Andrews, David Njoku, Tyler Warren. I don't think I've taken him yet. Maybe I've taken him once.
I've taken him once. Does he retire is the question.
That's the thing, is the guy might literally be holding the Lombardi trophy and be like, and that's it for me. Or he might do what he did last year and say, and we're coming back for number 4.
Last year, it feels like last year we were talking about that a lot, and this year not at all. I don't know why necessarily, but this year is history. 3 in a row is unprecedented. So this would be maybe, it's 1 year later too. Maybe would make more sense. All right.
Yeah.
So tight end 8 so far.
The thing with me with Kelce is that last year we were in a position where you're like, well, if he doesn't retire, I'm getting still maybe the best tight end in the league.
And now you're I think he'll play even less on offense. Let's say he doesn't retire, Rashi comes back, Worthy continues developing, they get one more outside guy, instead of Justin Watson, but they have a competent guy. Noah Gray is still under contract. Then you're they could just get away with playing him 60% of the snaps in the regular season.
Jonnu Smith is a fun, totally solid pick, but I wouldn't consider him if I thought he might retire.
Right.
This is sort of we're in a new rank. If David Njoku was considering retirement, I would not be drafting him. That's kind of the new thing we're in with Kelce now. So Are these by
the way guesses, Jonnu Smith or
no. These are guys. These are guys that Kelsey's kind of now.
Yes.
Whereas before he was even last year, even heading into last year, I was he just carried them a Super Bowl. He can turn it on still.
The Chiefs just won the AFC Championship with 32 points against Buffalo, with Kelce going for 2 for 19. By the way.
Yeah.
Super. All right, Pat.
Davante Adams.
Davante Adams is correct. All the chalk so far. Under contract with the Jets. If it's even qualified as counting as buzz, it's that Rodgers is back. But I don't know what
Adams basically has a player option with the Jets. He's
okay.
I think his cap number is 40 million or something absurd, with like very little dead cap. So he gets to decide if he takes a pay cut / signs an extension to spread out the money.
You think he's out of there then? Maybe
he's definitely like when with the Raiders, when they were trying to trade for him, the Jets were trying to change his contract, and he refused to change his contract because they can't like keep him under this contract. It's like he gets to decide if he's going to sign an extension or get cut, which he did specifically because he didn't know if Rodgers was going to stick around or not. So if Rodgers comes back, they'll work something out and he'll stay. But if Rodgers retires, the Adams is like, I mean, he's going to get like a big bag from the Jets with a multi-year extension, or much more likely just not be there.
Where's he going?
I don't know. Buffalo, maybe. They need someone like that.
Where's he going in drafts?
Fifth round, wide receiver 32.
Okay.
Which he was going later. I drafted some of them originally. This feels like a little hotter given.
I think I like it.
You're into it?
I think I like it. Wide receiver 32. He's going to play somewhere. All right, Davis.
Yeah.
I've got an outside one that I'm pretty sure is on the list. Zach Ertz, Washington Commanders. Zach Ertz, I'm pretty sure is on the list. Yep.
Damn.
Well done.
Yeah, that's my
last
guy.
year's,
gotten to Ertz.
Last year's ADP, I believe, would be the highest of all these players at 214. Pretty sure about that.
He signs a 1-year deal and is back with the Commanders, I think.
Yeah, I believe he said he's not retiring.
He's going 176 with I mean, we haven't been taking him, but it's like I kind of want, with a player like Ertz, again, I would like confirmation he's back with the Commanders.
Zach Ertz, January 27th, made clear Monday he has no intentions of retiring after a rejuvenating first year in Washington.
I would also like the Commanders have no intentions of not bringing him back.
Oh, know, buddy, right? Cliff is not going to let Zach Ertz walk.
You're probably right. You're probably right.
Well, that makes him tight end what? I mean, got to move him way up, obviously, but does he scratch the top 10?
Tight end 23 right now. He's
tight end 23.
He's so old. I mean, he stayed healthy this year is kind of a big part of it. Like,
there's a lot of input volatility. Like, if their slot wide receiver is not Luke McCaffrey / Olamide Zaccheaus / Luke McCaffrey, and they have a competent slot wide receiver, I mean, he could be like a 9% target share guy.
Why would you not draft Zach Ertz at tight end 23 in every draft? That team, I mean, he's younger than Kelsey.
He's a little bit. He's been more fragile though,
because he's not under contract with the team the only team where he would have a starting role in the league. He's not under contract. Is why I'm not really taking it.
Yep. Well, I wish I drafted him in every team this year, but
sure. I mean, Sanat's probably nothing, but they did just spend a pick at the position. Well, I think he's probably back, but
Sanat is John Bates' replacement as the H-back. So they got him on the roster. They don't have to pay John Bates now.
So even more proof that Ertz is back doing the same thing as long as he stays healthy.
Yeah.
All right. I mean, sign me up. Pat, you're next. Who do you like?
Terry McLaurin.
No. Not on the list.
I got one that is that'll be pretty good. Justin Jefferson is for sure on this list. He's got like 8,000 yards already.
Nice.
Year 4, guys.
Wow.
He might be good.
ADP 6.3 last year. It's got to be about the same. Maybe better.
Which I think is like, I'm not going to have the stones because I just got so punished for doing this last year, but I should just do the same thing. I should just go run back 25% because he's so clearly the best guy in football that like 1,500 yards and 10 touchdowns was disappointing for him.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. But I guess Chase does have those crazy spikes. Chase is a bad 101. He really is. Like,
it should probably just be Barkley.
Yeah.
Aren't we tired of getting buried by this guy? I am.
I'll give you guys the ages on the rest of them. McLaurin is around 6,300, I believe.
Okay.
So a little bit back.
Just
but
missed.
There are a couple of guys who you maybe would think of as younger who are in the top 25 all-time receiving yards, active players. Anybody else you guys like?
Adam Thielen.
That's a good one.
Adam Thielen is right.
Oh, I know. There's an obvious one we're missing.
Go ahead.
DJ Moore.
Stephon Diggs.
Oh. Yeah, I don't know why I wasn't thinking Diggs.
Yep.
What's
happening with Diggs in drafts?
Wide receiver 52. He, I think, is a good value.
Yeah, me too.
He's coming off a torn ACL at 31. And he's a free agent.
He's probably gonna go. I feel the same way about him and Hollywood. They're both just gonna resign. I think.
I guess.
You think Houston?
Yeah, because Houston. I mean, if Houston does not resign Diggs, the fuck is their plan? You're running back Robert Woods, Nico Collins, and John Mechie and Dalton Schultz.
Well, I mean, they could be like a Matthew Golden in the first round team.
That is not what I would do if I just fired Bobby Slowick and I've got.
I don't think I'd be bringing back Diggs. Diggs was like already kind of in his slot receiver era, and then he tore his ACL. Like, isn't Diggs now just like Ravens era Odell Beckham?
Oh,
like dude, old receivers tearing their ACL is not great.
I honestly hadn't considered it. Because he tore his ACL like week 8.
Yeah,
ish.
The last 2 years in Buffalo, it went downhill in the second half and into the playoffs. It's one of the reasons I think they felt justified making the move. And then, in Houston, there were a couple good weeks, but it wasn't like the ceiling was very high. So he's not big, right? For a receiver getting into their 30s, you might wonder if he's somebody that might be especially.
But I mean, like, we would already be concerned with, like, he's clearly fallen off a little bit if we're just like looking at like what he was doing. He goes to Houston. You're like, damn, I mean, this guy's been a number one wide receiver for a while. Like, is he going to challenge Nico Collins? Nope, not at all. Didn't challenge Nico Collins at all. Collins had to really be out for Diggs to have like a ton of fantasy value. And even then he was like accumulating from the slot. Like,
right.
This was this year's version of Cooper Kupp almost that we got from Diggs before he tore his ACL. So I think
you convinced me, Corinne. I think I was in, and now I think I'm out. I think I'm going to move him down in my ranks.
We're not into it at Leg Up, if you can tell. Amari Cooper, the chat pointed out, he's got to be on here.
There he is. Man, what happens there? Again, Buffalo that was not much. Didn't look fast at all. Just like they didn't lean into him after trading for him at all with the season with so much at stake. I doubt he's back here. No one's told me that, but it just didn't work. Didn't work out. So maybe Cooper is more interesting to someone else.
I've heard that Buffalo's interested in bringing him back, which doesn't make a lot of sense to me, but that would be huge for his value if he got another run at it.
Yep.
Not real high on my target list either, though. Cooper Kupp, speaking of him, he's got to be on here.
Who's trading for Cooper Kupp? Where's Cooper Kupp play next year?
We talked about that for a minute last week. Washington seems maybe great, but I don't know. What do you think he has left?
Here's my theory. No one's trading for Cooper Kupp. Cooper Kupp.
Yes.
The Rams, if Cooper Kupp gets traded, then the Rams are off the hook for a big chunk of his salary. And Cooper Kupp has a cap hit of basically $30 million, rounding up. I'm guessing Cooper Kupp would like to keep, a pretty solid salary that he's got, 12.5 base, 14.8 base in 2026. I'm guessing he's probably happy to keep his current contract in place. The Rams are happy to have someone else take the contract off their hands. So, Kupp saying, I'm out here, I'm going to get traded. No, you're probably going to get cut. The Rams are I wonder if they asked him to take a pay cut, and he was like, no, and they're like, great,
dude,
well then we're going to trade you.
What a nasty fucking industry, dude. That just sucks for Cooper Kupp. Like, just like the guy, like they certainly do not win that Super Bowl without him. I mean, no one has been more emblematic of the Sean McVay. Like, I would argue that Cooper Kupp is the reason they even had the stones to do the trade in the first place. You know, just like having that guy on the roster. What a cold world, man. I really do hate that about.
There's no way. Let's just keep this in mind when they draft a running back in the first round. And they're like, how could we have known that they would turn their backs on Kyren after what he's done for them? Yeah. I don't know. I think Cooper Kupp is a Keenan Allen level.
And the thing is what Cooper Kupp does now is so valuable for all these NFL teams because no one can throw the ball anymore. So just having guys who can get open on 7-yard crossers and hitches is like, like Cooper Kupp's basically Kelsey, you know?
Cole Beasley got a all-pro vote from Peter King with doing that, a few years ago here. So
that would be fun. I mean, Cooper Kupp with Josh would be fun. It's the new Cole
How about
Beasley.
Dallas? How about Dallas? He gets cut. They have like no wide receiver too.
I think Pat is right. I think he does have to get cut. I mean, the numbers on the trade seem make it unlikely, but I don't know. We'll see.
I don't know all three, but I know two of the other ones, AJ Brown and George Kittle, will be the other ones. I don't know all.
Brandon
three.
Cooks, someone noted in the chat, would likely be on here
too. Cooks is 10th. He's on the right. We left him out.
Oh,
he's on the non-active list.
Well, I don't know. I didn't think he was interesting.
Someone in the chat. No.
Who's that?
CeeDee Lamb.
Nope. Want it? Here it comes.
Not productive enough, I think, CD.
Chris Godwin. Okay. Nice.
We're not against that either.
He's an interesting free agent.
I thought about Godwin and then was like, might be.
A couple of big injuries, but he was really productive before he got hurt.
Really productive. Has the ankle fracture ligament. Who knows what exactly went on kind of vibe. Where you're like, I don't know what the floor is here, but I do think someone pays Chris Godwin on the hopes that, he is what he was before he got hurt.
I think the Buccaneers just pay him. I'm drafting him.
Buccaneers
I'm drafting
could
him
pay
right
him.
now.
If the Buccaneers
going back.
The two spots where I'm like pretty bullish are the Buccaneers and the Jaguars, right? Because the Jaguars with Liam Cohen, you're like, oh, he's like basically just going to get installed as what he was last year. And you would guess that Cohen has like a pretty good understanding of what the injury is and his recovery timeline and stuff. And then obviously the Bucks, there's like some sentimental value where maybe they just like, are they so bullish on his recovery or is they just want him to be a Buck for life? But there's still, I mean, they have more information than anyone on the recovery. So if he like hits the open market and isn't signed right away, that would be kind of concerning to me a little bit from what teams are expecting from him next year,
McLaurin and Lamb are in the next 5 names on this list, although they're a ways back. The next 2 names on this list are Michael Thomas, who definitely would have been in red.
Isn't that crazy?
And Tyler Boyd.
It's crazy to me that Michael Thomas is not on this list. Truly. Like,
yeah,
I would have guessed off the top of my head 10,000 receiving yards from Michael Thomas.
Well,
truly.
Shope deducted, he removed slants from the yardage total. So,
yeah, he's 26th. Michael Thomas is 26th. Well,
that's crazy.
An overview or a thought on just like the idea, running backs last year, what that was, older receivers here. I mean, it's obviously not apples to apples, but some interesting free agents where you might, there might be so cheap. I mean, that's one difference, isn't it? The running backs I'm thinking of, right into the second round with Barkley and Henry, those guys, way more expensive in terms of investments. A lot of these guys that may or may not be done, don't know landing spot, are drafted in double-digit rounds. So, why not?
Yeah. I mean, I kind of like the Hollywood level guy where you're like, if I'm going to take the chance on a guy, I think it might be done. At least he's basically free. I'm having trouble getting excited about like the Amari Cooper Stephon Diggs kind of tier of guys. I have taken some Keenan. He did not seem done to me, but he's like not that far off.
What about AJ Brown for next year? Like, does it matter if they win this game? Is he back there? I mean, is it all good, win or lose?
Man, Brown getting traded would be huge for him.
The biggest problem for AJ Brown this season was that instead of having the 26th best defense in football, the Eagles had the best defense in football. Defense is just not going to be sticky year over year. I would guess the Eagles are going to be closer to league average in defense next year. It's just kind of the way defense works. That will be massive for AJ.
Is the way it works if you're just like constantly drafting the best edges in college football?
They've been drafting the best players. How long has Howie Roseman been the Eagles GM? 8 years, something like that.
Yeah, that sounds about right.
Like, they just got lucky. I mean, well, one, they got lucky that Jalen Carter was party to a murder, so he fell in the draft. They got lucky that like Zach Bond ended up being really good, but sometimes they'll get wrong. Sometimes they'll just guess, and also sometimes a guy will get hurt that can't get hurt, right?
Stealing this from Mike Giardi from Boston Sports Journal. I talked to him yesterday here in Buffalo, and he's like, Myles Garrett in Philadelphia. Just sort of Philadelphia makes that work. They've got their other deals with New Orleans going where they can accumulate draft picks, and I don't know, like he wants to go to a contender. There's one.
Myles Garrett in Philadelphia. Oh my God. I would love if AJ Brown got to play. He's 28 now, right? It's kind of going to wind down soonish. Not like that it'll be done, but like the dominant era.
Man, but imagine AJ Brown in his slant boy era. Like AJ Brown in his Cooper Cup, not adolescence. What's the not dotage. There's a word like dotage, but not quite. Dotage would have worked, but it's not exactly what I'm going for.
Yeah.
But AJ Brown in his aging gracefully period.
Yeah, his golden years.
AJ Brown as 76% of the routes, 70% of his routes out of the slot. Buddy, he could have 100 catch season with like Larry Fitzgerald's last really good year, but AJ Brown doing that instead of Larry Fitzgerald.
Chiefs fandom has broken you. Where now you look at one of the most dominant downfield threats in decade, and you're like, imagine this guy is Juju Smith-Schuster on the Chiefs. That's real.
Let me tell you, AJ Brown bad fit Chiefs. Actually, they would not be interested in him. Too explosive, too way too good down the field. They want their outside guy running like Justin Watson. That's kind of what they prefer.
Yeah, that's true. Well, they got to kick him into the slot.
There they are, the top 25 active leaders in receiving yards all time. Davis, back at the beginning, before we were talking about these guys, you mentioned rookies, and you got to Ollie Gordon, then we did 20 minutes off of that. Jack Bech.
Oh, yeah.
Yes. So Bech, I've already seen it, Corain. I've already seen the name of Puka Nacua invoked.
Oh, it's been invoked. Like, it's not just once.
It's February 4th, and we have already invoked. Last year, I think my favorite guy who got compared to Puka Nacua last year was Casey Washington, a guy who remained on the Falcons practice squad for the entirety of the year. That was my personal favorite, and that was not from a guy on Twitter. That was from a Falcons beat writer who invoked the name of Puka Nacua for Casey Washington. My actual guess for the most, if you made me do it on February 4th, you held a gun to my head. I actually think Oronde Gadsden is most likely to have a Nacuian effect, because that if a team chooses to value Gadsden, who is listed at tight end,
right,
it is going to be in a, we never want you to block. We only want you to run about 62% of the routes, but you are only going to be there to catch passes. Bech, I think, sadly, is a bit of a tweener. He was a tight end at LSU, and then at TCU, he barely played as a junior, and then really broke out in a real way this final year. Nothing's ever gone wrong overvaluing a TCU wide receiver for anyone in the fantasy football community.
No.
Yeah, I think it's Bech. He's gonna be
Is it Bech?
It's Bech, I believe. That's what I've most consistently heard now. Because
Okay.
I've heard it both
All right.
ways, but I'm starting to hear.
Now we're into the meat of the
Yeah.
season here. Now when we have to figure out how names are pronounced, and then they'll get drafted and get into the league and then tell us it was actually different than their college announcers were saying for 3 years, which
it's
think
actually
is
Beach.
it's actually Beach. I think it is a strategy. You know, you're distancing yourself. You're almost like trying to reinvent yourself. I'm going to change I'm going to be Ligat actually now. I'm going to be A-Chan now, even though nobody ever called him.
Well, now I can't even remember. Did he say A-Chain or A-Chan?
It was A-Chan. He was
A-Chain on go to Broad. What do we do it when we don't know? We go to YouTube, look up his college highlights. Say.
Yeah.
You know, that's
what I do.
I'm actually back in if it's Ashane.
I'm back in if it's Bech. If it's Beach, I'm so in. I'm so in on Beach.
I'm in on Beach.
I think he's a guy to take right now.
Yes, he is a guy to hammer right now. I think honestly, because I was pretty plugged in on the Senior Bowl reaction stuff, getting a sense because here's the thing about the Senior Bowl. It is a big part of the evaluation process for NFL teams, including NFL coaches who may or may not, but often may not, have watched a ton of these guys prior to going to the Senior Bowl. So this is like a first impression bowl for a lot of the NFL coaches. So you're getting the chance for these guys to stand out and consistently stand out is going to change draft capital in some meaningful ways. And then, you go and there's all these guys, they're all watching, they're going to get the practice film later and review it. They're having conversations, right? You're not seeing every single rep. So some guys you're like, oh, this guy was a winner. I saw Kyle Williams was a winner. And then you check another list, Kyle Williams is a loser of the, So it's hard to tell who actually had a good Senior Bowl, who just flashed to some people. With Jack Bech, there's no ambiguity. The dude had an awesome Senior Bowl, and then he catches the game-winning touchdown in the game.
Game-winning touchdown.
Yeah, he just lost his brother in the New Orleans shooting. So there's this story of this guy coming in and having the most incredible Senior Bowl. He, after the game, is dedicating it to his brother. It's this is the story of the offseason right now, and it is not going unnoticed by the NFL. On the NFL Stock Exchange, great podcast, they did a 2-round mock following the Senior Bowl. He went 37 to the Raiders. I think we're talking about a dude who meaningfully changed his perception and in the actual NFL draft. So we just want now when I look at his profile, if I have to take Jack Bech in the 10th or 11th round, I'm not into that.
No chance, dude. If I had to take Jack Bech ahead of Keenan Allen, I'm out. I'm just out.
Take him now. We can see which way the wind is blowing here. Take him now.
Makes sense.
I agree. Yeah. Same thing with the tight ends right now too. Helm, Arroyo, Mason Taylor. These are strict 20th round, last round. Take them there because round 14, Gunnar Helm is going to hit different in a bad way, in the worst possible way. You do not want to be taking Gunnar Helm over Dalton Schultz. You really don't.
And Gadsden out of Syracuse is ranking wise, what, Davis, 8 or 9 right now? NFL draft wise. Tight end.
Because it's totally eye of the beholder situation.
Right.
Where he cannot, for example, he would could just not be a Ram. If Gadsden got drafted by the Rams would he wouldn't even be on their board, because he can't do the multifaceted things. He'd be a great fit. He'd be a great Bengal because the Bengals always have about 8 tight ends and they never have any of them do more than one thing. You've got Sample, Gesicki, Eric All, and the one other guy, Hudson, and they all do something different. He'd be a really good Tanner Hudson for them.
Good. We need the Colts to get back to a world where they have 7 tight ends.
Oh my God, the Colts are Colts are a lock to take a tight end in this class. I think it's probably going to be Tyler Warren. But
the tight end that I think is most intriguing coming out of the Senior Bowl is actually Mason Taylor. Elijah Arroyo had the buzziest Senior Bowl for route running reasons, and that's cool. I'm into that too. But Arroyo is like a little bit more of like, I think kind of like a receiver playing tight end and didn't have a ton of production. And he dealt with some injuries. I think he was like later to football. And so like kind of an intriguing traits guy. But then you have like Harold Fannin, or I'm like, man, this guy, it's kind of the intriguing traits guy, tweener type, but with like a ton of production. I was going to prefer that profile. But if you just want like a tight end, like a dude who plays tight end and is good at blocking, and there's no issues about like, where do you line him up? How do you use him? He's a tight end. You just use him like a tight end. Mason Taylor had a really strong Senior Bowl where people kind of more quietly, but just, I think he really impressed teams. I think he'll have solid, day 2 draft capital. And we actually have above Arroyo by a decent amount right now, and not too far behind Fannin at this point. Because Fannin's like, if he's an H-back, that's going to really hurt us in best ball.
Fannin won't be an H-back, but the concern is he might be a 6th-round pick. And if he's a 6th-round pick, it's over.
Yeah. I don't think so.
He's Jason Morrow.
So Fannin and Kyle Dvorchak in a chat was saying like there were reports he was moving like a quote slug. It's like, that's bad. And like some of the early, I think day 1 was not impressive, but I went and checked the zebra tracking stuff, where that like you can actually see the miles per hour. 4th fastest miles per hour by a tight end in Senior Bowl history. 4th fastest acceleration, like 9th fastest deceleration. Bunch of explosive efforts, which is where you have acceleration and deceleration on the same play. So he's, I think, clearly like the slug allegations were overblown. Like he was moving well. Yeah. I think Fannin. I was listening to Nate Tice and Dane Brugler kind of breaking it down, and they're kind of like, I don't know, like what Fannin is. Like, is he a tight end? Is he kind of someone you just move around the formation in kind of a specialized role? But they were like, but there are teams who are pretty interested in him. So I think Fannin was
They should be. He had fucking 53% of his college's receiving production, and I think they won 7 games too. So it's not like
he did it against good schools at times. Like, they didn't always play good schools, but when they did, he was productive. So yeah, Fannin I think is some like I'm a little cooler on than I would like to be, but I'm still going to draft this dude. He's a big receiver with tight end eligibility who was super productive in college.
Well, I'm in. It's a family name, and he's from a part of the world where my grandfather and my mom is from. So I might even be related. I'll have to look into that down the road, but excited about him. Anyway, thank you guys. Davis wins for the blue lights. Pat, no Murphy. My camera fell apart, so we'll try to do better next week. For Pat and Davis, I'm Mike Shope. Thanks for watching ADP Chasing. Talk to you next week.